And welcome to the Bitcoin Bros podcast, featuring two Bitcoin brothers who are going to chat Bitcoin, life, and everything in between. I'm the big bro Gaz, and I know everything.
I'm the little bro Tom, who doesn't know everything, but what I do know, this is not financial advice. However, buy Bitcoin or have fun staying poor. Welcome to season two, episode two of the Bitcoin Bros. So we made it, guys. We got to the second one. I thought we went for a bit of a hiatus straight away, and just for those regular viewers out there, what happened was I can't remember what he said. Can we leave the pod tonight, please? I have to do my fields. And that just sounds too big time. And on that note about having fields, why he looked at the weather forecast. The wandering spirit had checked the forecast for tomorrow a couple of weeks ago, and it was raining. So he said, I have to do my garden. I'm my garden, which is like 20,000 acres. And anyway, there's been a new addition. So we've obviously there's a lot of life change in Gaz, his life, and yeah, what's your latest? You got four new additions in your house.
I nearly had to delay today's pod because really I should be getting the chickens in about now.
It's their bedtime, the chicken's bedtime.
It literally is, and at the moment we literally only had them 2 days, so they're really nervous for the first 2 days, and so they don't really move very much, and unless you're trying to put them to bed. And there's a fox that wanders by most evenings. So they will get nabbed because as much as I think I fox proofed this run, it isn't. A fox wants to get in, he's going to get in. So you have to put them in the coop locked away. So
Ah,
every
so you
night,
actually have to lock him up into the coop that you handmade put together, which I still think that Fox gets into the fence. I think Fox gets into coop and probably eats
well,
scrambled egg as well.
yeah, well, I'd love some eggs, but the damn things are too young at the moment, not even giving me eggs. But the coop's got a top bit, so the top bit is all wooden and it's very solid.
Ah, okay. Ah,
So
so
they're proper
so the,
locked away in there.
so the bits on the so you have to get him into that, and there's like a little run up the middle bit, isn't there? Is that how it
Yeah,
works?
because they're young, they haven't learned how to use the run up. Um, so after a couple of weeks, apparently, they'll put themselves to bed. You know, chickens, they sense danger. Once it gets dark, they go to bed. So all you got to do is go out and then pull the drawbridge up. So if any fox got in, it can't get into the actual chicken coop. It will be in the run and potentially could give them a heart attack if if it's scrabbling about and snarling on the outside. They could die of heart attack on the inside. You won't get any. They are safely locked up. So all you got to do is each evening go in, pull the drawbridge up, and they're good. But at the moment, you have to go out and chase four chickens around a fucking chicken pen. They all run away from you.
I'm imagining like Dumb and Dumber does Rocky Balboa training camp. That's what I'm picturing.
That's
You and Vic running
pretty.
around trying to catch these little tiny chickens, and they're like, "Who the hell are you?" Going for your leg and you falling over.
Well, last night you can tell I'm not a chicken coop chicken owner for very long because I was out there in flip flops last night, and the chicken run has nettles throughout it. They've all been slammed down, but they're all coming back, and I'm hoping the chickens
Uh,
will just knock them all down. But there's still nettles a couple of inches long throughout the whole run. I'm running around after these chickens, stinging them feet. I'm too scared to grab the chicken to like hurt it, and oh, it's just it
that's
is.
amazing.
It takes about 15, 20 minutes to round
Have
them up.
you? Does the chicken coop feature on the CCTV? And you
No,
see, oh, so you
well,
can't see yourself doing it. That'd be amazing, especially first couple of days when you're proper novices at it.
yeah.
I can't wait until one gets out and you're chasing it around your fields.
Oh yeah, if one got out, it really would be a bit of a nightmare because yeah, they're just scared at the moment. They've been kept inside and they've been really like hand reared and looked after by this really nice farm that kind of sells them. But they've always been inside. They're always very used to certain surroundings, and now they're outside. Lots of different smells, noises. We're obviously new, a new coop to sleep in. They're not used to anything, so apparently it takes 2 weeks for them to settle. But then hopefully they'll just be walking about as normal, and you can just trick them. Then you can trick them with food, throw a bit of food in the coop, shut it up. They'll walk upstairs to bed, and then you shut the thing. It should just be a 5 minute job. At the moment, it's a half an hour
There's a
completed.
couple. There's a couple of things I find hilarious as well. There's like the sustainability farmer you are, which like if the day they stop laying eggs, it's the day they're like my chicken breasts. And then already you're mothering them. And I even made a silly joke today about being inappropriate to a chicken, and you got defensive. So it looks like you're already caring for them. So gone are the days when you would have trumped my with a better meme or something, but you didn't. You don't
Yeah.
approve of Philip Schofield and your chickens. I know
Yeah. Yeah, I probably won't eat them because really, when you work out how much a chicken is worth in meat, it really, unless I was
that.
starving, that's when I would eat a chicken. But even if it just stops laying, you go, well, yeah, of course, it's going to lay for 3 to 5 years, going to give you thousands of eggs in that time. It's earned to live a couple more years.
How many years does a chicken last for?
I mean, it's about 7.
Or 7?
And I think it's a bit stop and go in the first year to get started, and then you'll get 3 to 5, and then potentially another 2 to 3 years after that of just old age.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'd probably stop at big vet bills and stuff. I don't think I'd go there. I think if it starts to get ill, then it's just a case of nah, it's just
Chicken. So would you eat an ill one then?
no. That's the problem. That's the problem. And I have learned actually is that there's 2 types of chickens. There's laying chickens and there's eating chickens. So the laying ones don't taste very good anyway.
Just let them out to the fox. Give them an hour in the evening between 9 and 10. See how they get on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way your cats are like eyeing them up as well.
Yeah, they lit their lips. They were both when we brought that box in full of chickens. They
They're like,
followed us from the driveway all the way up to the chicken coop and just sat there staring.
I just think it is ace having like that box with them in and their little heads just poking out. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see them tomorrow. It's exciting. Anyway, we're not here to talk about bloody chickens. Today, we're going to discuss a bit about. We're going to go back to something that we notoriously we normally opt against talking about because we don't believe it's the way to measure the sort of like the growth, if you like, of Bitcoin. We normally say don't judge it by its price. However, we want to touch on price today because I think it's interesting. We also know that price is what gets it coverage. At the moment, we're sat. I'm just looking at my bit clock. 21,560 in pounds. If you move to your side, what's it in dollars? 26,500. Is it
Yeah, 5:30.
530? So yeah. So we are what 60% down from all-time high. However, from 3 years ago, we're 17 grand up. So to position, it's a nice trajectory up. But what I want to talk about actually is people are confident that Bitcoin's going to go down or whatever, and they hedge it, don't they? And I think it was about 2 months ago when the banking crisis in Silicon Valley happened, and it went from 16 up to 21, 2, 3, whatever it was. A lot of people got wrecked, didn't they? And yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how the hedging process works. Who does it? Because it's the thing, how would you even do it? I don't even know. If I want to hedge against Bitcoin based on some bad news that we knew was coming, how would you bet against it? I just don't get it.
Well, you short it. That's what I said last week with
Oh yeah, probably
yeah,
academics.
the academic a-holes. If they're so confident the price goes down, then you short it. And
Yeah,
what essentially that means is that you bet on the price going down. So if the price go down, then you make money. So some people are doing that, and obviously traders are doing that all the time. Like even if you're a pro Bitcoin person, you might still be a trader, which means you'll bet on you have a percent of your portfolio, 1 or 2%, and you'll be trading that every day, and you'll be betting on Bitcoin going up this hour, then down the next hour, up the next,
yeah,
potentially by the minute. So obviously there's loads of people doing that, and and quite one of the main reasons why price doesn't really matter is that there's so many different factors that can affect the price.
yeah,
Whereas if you look at the other metrics like hash rate, number of users, Lightning adoptions, number of transactions, number of countries adopting it, then all those things are bullish. All those things are just up and to the right. Whereas with price, it's much more volatile. And you go, well, why is that? Why isn't the price up and to the right? If everything is positive, then why isn't it just up and to the right? Well, Bitcoin is still a relatively small asset on the global scale. At 500 billion, that's small.
Mm.
So that's 500 billion. So it only takes, and when you look at the day-to-day trading of Bitcoin, it's probably, it's just in the small single-digit billions of Bitcoin that's been traded on all the exchanges globally. So 1 to 10 billion, depending on how excited people are, whether the news is bullish or bearish. 1 to 10 trillion a day, and 1 to 10 billion is being traded each day. So all it takes for the price to go sharply up or sharply down is just a couple of extra billion coming in on either side of the trade. And then suddenly the price goes flying up or the price goes flying down. And normally I get the text straight away. If Bitcoin takes a 20% surge upwards or downwards, people will ask me, oh, why did Bitcoin go up? Or why did Bitcoin go down? And my default answer is there's more buyers than sellers, or there's more sellers than buyers. Because I don't know, right? It could be there's a load of informed people that know something that I don't, and it could be 1 million people selling £1,000 worth of Bitcoin. That is something that is interesting because it's right. Why did these 1 million people sell? What information do they have that I don't have? Why are they exiting or entering Bitcoin? There's probably some type of news that could be interesting, but usually it isn't that. Usually it is just a billionaire or a government either selling off some Bitcoin or buying some Bitcoin. So really the answer is, well, if I could figure out what exchange that billionaire bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on today, then yeah, I could go, the reason for the price going up is that guy. But you don't have access to that level of data. So it's just you don't know. And a couple of months ago, we had numerous down days where the price was just consistently going down by about 5% or something for about a week. And then a story broke that I think it was the US government, or it might have been the Bulgarian government, there was a government somewhere anyway, and they'd seized a load of Bitcoin. They had a huge amount of it. They had something like 50,000 coins. It's a huge amount of this Bitcoin. And they'd sold off 12,000 of them over that week. And you go, well, there you go. The price pressure on Bitcoin tends to be pretty consistent, right? And that's what we've seen over the last couple of months, is that the price has stayed pretty consistent. It's pretty much been 20% either way of the price. It's just kind of fluttering along. But occasionally we'll just have a number of down days before it recovers back. And in that instance, it looks like the reason why we had some drops was the government selling a couple of thousand Bitcoin every day for 7 days. You go, that was probably why.
Yeah.
And because the governments do seize large amounts of Bitcoin from individuals sometimes, and they don't want that asset and they look to dump it. Then it's whether you want to get into the conspiracy side, because they don't tend to dump it all at once. They do tend to hold on to quite a lot of it, sell it for a week, and then hold the rest, wait a bit, sell it for a week. And you go, well, are they doing that on purpose to suppress the price? Is that every time Bitcoin gets some good news, they're like, time to sell another 1,000 Bitcoin just to throw water on their parade? Who knows? But obviously, we know that they can only do that for so long. It's not going to be permanently there, because we know they actually do this in the gold market. Whenever gold starts to take off in price, the government will sell a load of paper gold. So they just keep creating gold out of thin air, really, and sell it to suppress the price. They don't want gold to get too valuable, because then it poses a threat to their fiat money. So it's likely that they will be trying to do the same thing on Bitcoin. But the thing they can't do on Bitcoin is create paper Bitcoin and just sell that on an exchange. They need to have actual Bitcoin to do that. So we thought they were going to have to buy it, but then it suddenly makes sense that, they don't have to buy it, do they? They seize it from people that they deem criminals, seize that as government assets. And just as they sell cars, houses, and all that kind of stuff in auctions, they also sell Bitcoin, and they'll go to big exchange and they'll dump a load of coins on those exchanges. So it's why at price, really, if you really like watch it every day or every week, it'll just drive you insane, because you're trying to
4 or 5 times a day.
I know, and I still do it too, but it's wherever you get emotional and get upset about it going down, or you get excited about it going up, your emotions will be in tatters. And because especially if you're trying to follow the news, if you're all over Reddit or over Twitter, trying to figure out why this news has just happened, you just got to go, But you're probably never going to know why the thing happened. So just relax, just sit back, stack sats, and the price will be the price, right? And the most likely thing is that the price will continue to go up into the right. At the moment, it looks like, oh, look, we're on a dip. But how many dips have we had over the 14 years of Bitcoin? And how many times are those dips being recovered and then massively surpassed their previous all-time high? And suddenly that little dip from being a huge V
Yeah.
shape in the chart, when you zoom out and you fast forward 5 years, you can't even see the V. Everyone was getting really upset about going from, what was it, like back in the day, from 1,000 to $400. You can't even see that V now. It's gone, and everyone's getting upset from going from 20,000 to 3,000. You can barely see that because now we've gone to 69,000 down to, what was it? I think it was about 17 or something at one point, and now we're back to 25. And that's the big V. And the previous one looks like a medium V, and the other ones are just pretty much almost look like a
Straight
straight
line.
line up. So if we fast forward 5, 10 years, the current V that we're in will just be a straight line, and you won't notice it because it'll be at hundreds of thousands. So just chill out, stack sats, and don't worry too much about what's going on and why the price might be moving up or down. Because most people that claim they know what the price is doing is probably lying
They're
or
forecasting, aren't they?
wrong.
Yeah.
They're
Because
probably trying to like promote their YouTube channel or their trading course, pretending to know, and they don't. They don't. That's why they're going to charge you $50 a month to find out what the price of Bitcoin does. It's like if you knew the price of Bitcoin were going up or down, you'd be a billionaire. So what are you charging me $50 a month to know that for?
no, good shout. It's I think the point is though, it's the market cap's small, isn't it, at the moment, so you can be influenced quite heavily. But I actually look forward. So let's forecast a little bit. So when the market cap gets to let's say 5, 6 trillion, it's going to be a lot more difficult for anyone to. Well, it is and it isn't. So when the market cap's up at that level, it means the price will be probably 100, 200 grand. So I guess if you're holding 50,000 coins, you can still influence it exactly the same as you can today, because it'd be equivalent. But it's unlikely people are going to have as many as that at that point, unless it is a very, I don't know, very disciplined government that doesn't want to liquidate any of it. Because to hold it when it goes up that much, you would have billions, wouldn't you, potentially? I don't
Yeah,
know what 50,000, 200 grand would be. It probably must be a billion, I'm assuming. 10
yes,
billion. Isn't it?
it is multiple billions. Yeah, and so they
So,
have billions of it now. But yeah, you're right because as the price goes up, the liquidity gets bigger as well. So the impact of that many coins hitting the exchange won't be as big because the liquidity on the exchange is, if the price 10x's, then usually the liquidity goes 10x as well. So now it's 10x harder to dump the price. So
oh, see, yeah.
the coins almost do have more power at the moment because there's less people involved in Bitcoin that will be in the future. So
So that's the
and
point. So do
it
you
won't have
think,
50,000 either because they're selling them now. So if that one government example that I gave where they had 50,000 coins, they've only got 40,000 now. Well, I think it's actually 38. I think they sold 12,000. So they got 38. And that will continue to happen.
so do you think if you were Ricky Sunak now, would you hold your coins and wait until it pumps up to a decent level when people get excited again, and then crush it down again, like, and then go with conviction, like sell all of them to make it go underneath what it is today? People would be stupidly scared because that would go against the cycles, wouldn't it? But if by doing it now, it's just like all you're doing is compressing a box that's expanded. It's going to break, especially when the halving's on its way. We're on that the exciting sort of we're on a 400 meter sprint, and we're on the 100 meters now, waiting to go to the halving. Last year it's 12 months now, isn't it? Just under, and then it's going to be probably the next 12 months will be the boom time again, won't it?
The good thing is it doesn't matter what he does. Whatever tactic he does, 'cause you could go two ways or three ways with it. You could just do a very like anti DCA, so constantly sell,
Ah, yeah, I suppose.
constantly keep the price down.
And
Or you could
anti-thesis.
wait for a big dip and then sell it, which obviously means you get less fiat at the other end of it, but you're a government, you don't care, you can print it. But
Yes.
wait for a big dip and then sell it again to push the price even
Yeah.
further, even whilst all the buyers have run off, sell, dump it again.
Because that would scare people. That would actually ruin your people that have done daft things like you leverage debt on to buying. It would ruin people. So then it doesn't take many stories to go wildfire, does it, on those sort of things? I'm thinking because at the minute the public's the average Joe's very much the the ball's not, it's not in play, not sure what to do with it. Do we jump in? Still think it's not right. A lot of people still believe in ISAs, pensions, and stuff like that. So whilst you've got that belief, the people are vulnerable, aren't they? So, but confidence is growing. We can see that. You speak to anyone now, everybody, I would say, bar next to no, I don't think I know anyone that doesn't know what Bitcoin is.
Hmm.
Not detail, not belief, but they've heard of it, whether that's negative or positive. So everyone knows about it. So it's not long before that confidence grows, and that's when I think they need to smash it. But like you say, sound money, the people find the cleverest way and the safest way and the best storage of wealth. So it will find its way. It's just I'm thinking these are delay tactics, but what they need to do, and I guess what they're doing now with the Bank of England releasing the information on the digital pound, which is a digital pound, is that the CBCDs,
Yeah.
CBDC?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got that. So that is their counter punch, isn't it? So they just need to sedate and keep Bitcoin down, suppress it, and if you like, to give themselves, well, look, you could go to Bitcoin, but we know that's a scam. Look at us, centrally funded, backed by the bank, safe money. It's the new era. And that is what I imagine is what they're trying to do, which is probably why they're going to start. I think the anti-DCA is probably what they're going to do.
Yeah, I
And
think that's what they're doing now. But the thing is, it doesn't matter because all that happens is it's like when every time what happens when the price really dumps in Bitcoin, like really dumps, the price nearly always shoots back up because there might be a load of people that go, oh no, the price of Bitcoin's going down. And yet, guess what? They're not Bitcoiners yet. That is the average Joe. And guess what? They don't get cheap Bitcoin. It's the Bitcoiners that come in and any spare fiat they have, they lump in and
yeah,
go, great. Thank you, Mr. Government, for dumping the price. I'll have some cheap sats. And the price goes flying back up.
which
So
then I think for the bigger picture as well, because you're absolutely right, that's exactly what will happen, and that's going to continue to happen because people use it as an investment, and they will get scared, they will probably sell. Then it'll be the core Bitcoiners, which I think if we got 200,000 miners at the moment in circulation, I think that was the number I quoted last week. How many Bitcoiners do you reckon we've got? Like, I mean, this isn't just people that are holding or got a wallet. This is people that do genuinely believe and they're proper hodlers. I'll probably say probably half that number. Would you say 100,000 in the world, or would you say more? Say more than that? I know it's a real hard thing to
yeah,
guess.
way more. Yeah, the 200,000 miners, that means 200,000 like
Well,
miners.
of course, it'd be more than that, wouldn't it? Probably.
Yeah, they're the hardcore. They're like
Okay, shall we just say what, like say 10
there's,
million then?
the stat normally is there's 200 million Bitcoiners in the world.
200 million. Okay. So there's 200 million Bitcoiners. They're the ones. So, when you talk about the new era when it all crashes down, and you said numerous times it's going to be like a hard sell, like it's going to be one of those things which you won't want to brag about because it'd be like there's people are going to be in absolute turmoil.
Hmm.
This is exactly the reason why it's going to happen like that because you're going to get the if you like the clever people that have switched on and moved on are going to get more, and the people that don't believe are going to have less and go bankrupt,
Hmm.
which is the thing. You're going to have very much a 1% rich club, aren't you? 99% scrapping for the wage in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're going to have as the government goes down and burns, when Bitcoin rises from the ashes, the government are going to go, that's why you've all lost your job and your pension's gone and your wages are worth nothing. It's because of Bitcoin.
Hmm.
And they obviously own the propaganda machine that is the media. So Bitcoiners will be hated for probably for quite a long time
Yeah.
until those governments kind of fall. New governments will rise probably out of the ashes in some shape or form, and then the truth will get told about, and our probably grandkids will hear about it in school about the great fiat collapse, and they may hear some truth if things have been corrected and we're on a Bitcoin standard, and they'll get taught how governments were reckless with money and they burn everything down. Because it's like what they do now, right? It's like when every time the government fucks up, who do they blame? They blame immigrants and poor people. They're the two demographic that have virtually zero impact on the economy of any country. Yet they get blamed when the banks lose all the money and go bankrupt. How did immigrants and poor people do any of that? They didn't. It's big execs and big government corrupt individuals that are just leveraging up, gambling with everyone's money, and one day they lose it. And what is their excuse? Oh, immigration and poor people. claiming too many benefits. That's the reason. Go fight amongst yourselves. So
Yeah.
that's just divide and conquer. That's just deflection. Because if they actually were honest and went, yeah, we gambled all your money away, sorry about that, there'd be riots in the street and we'd be forcing for real change, like actually getting rid of the government completely in its current form and putting something else better to go. So this experiment failed. We're going to put a different one in because you lost it all. That's bad. So when they fail this time, there will be no bailout because their money will be worthless. Bitcoin will be the currency that has value. And the bit of Bitcoin they have, even if they do have 50,000, 100,000 coins, that isn't enough to sustain their huge authoritarian government kind of spends. They'll rifle through that in a matter of days to pay all
So
the employees.
do
So
you
they're going to blame Bitcoin, and it's not going to be very nice to be a Bitcoin.
do you because we've always said you in order to have a land which is not full of crime and you know you need to have the education and stuff put back into it. You do need to have some form of government, but obviously it'd be a different government because it would be separated from the money, which would be the reason why it should be workable and it should be more like a business. But I wonder, I'd love to know how that will ever come up. Will like you still have Labour and Conservatives that will stand for, or will
No,
you have like,
that'd be
yeah, I
bad.
just, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think you'd almost got to think back. It's almost to the kings and queens type era, and they have.
but like, who's going to be a lot of fighting? The thing is,
Hmm.
it's like rich kids want to be the richest. There's a lot of cock measuring there'll be between the Bitcoiners because they'll be the ones that will be there with the power because they have the cash.
Hmm.
So it could be like civil wars amongst different levels of thing because Bitcoins at the minute are together because they're fighting a common goal. Once that's done, and now it's now right, you're fighting for the new world. Yeah.
That's why,
Like,
in reality, that's why Bitcoiners are already preparing like countries just to move to. Like, so the Bitcoiners know we're not going to be welcome in fiat land, and we don't really want to be in fiat land when that burns down. So we will move to a citadel, a country that is on the Bitcoin standard, has been well established, and everyone thinks the same. When fiat world collapses and everyone's just pointing fingers and blaming each other, they'll have to rebuild, and eventually they will start acquiring Bitcoin over the times, and they will each country will rebuild in a completely different shape, and some will have big governments, some will have small, some will have none. It's whatever, but it's going to take a long time for that new world to develop, and whilst that happens, it's probably going to take a couple of generations. You don't want to be living through that. It's not going to be nice. So you want to be, and essentially, yeah, we will be in the citadel somewhere because it's
so,
why
well,
do all that when you can now when you saw it coming. That's the benefit about being on the life raft, right? You're not flapping about in the water worrying what's happening. So you were on the life raft way before, and you got to land first. So we're pointing everyone in the right direction, right? We're trying to get everyone on the life rafts, but once it goes down fully, people behind, there's too many to save. If you go back for them now, they sink you as well. So, and if anything, they blame you for being in a life raft and their granny just died. You go, right, that's nothing to do with me. I tried to get your granny on this life raft ages ago. So I've just got to keep saying this way now. So at the moment, it's not too late, but there will become a point where it is too late. And we're seeing that in Argentina, Venezuela,
yeah.
Zimbabwe, all these countries, it's already too late for them. They've already lost everything. But in the Western world, we're kind of okay at the moment. 20% inflation. It's not good, but it's also not completely stealing all your money within a year, just stealing 20% of it. You don't want to have too many of those years though, but it's
No,
not.
no, we're celebrating yesterday, single figures.
Yeah.
However, they caveated it with, which is the thing that blows my mind. So CPI index is basically the measure of inflation, I always thought.
Yeah.
However, they said we're finally below double digits in inflation, so that's 9.9%. However, food is still up at 20 odd percent. Like, so come on now, which one where's this quote coming? What's 9.9%? And what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
That's a whole different pod, but yeah, the CPI is a government controlled statistic where they tend to look at the items that inflate more than what they want and they remove them from the basket.
Yeah,
And
but
what
we
they
should be
really start,
vegan.
they've really started to be corrupt about it, where they because it used to be at least food and energy was in the basket, but because the energy and food have gone up by so much, not only do they take certain items completely out, and then they started to substitute stuff. So instead of tracking the price of beef, say, they'll track the price of crickets and go, oh, the price of crickets hasn't gone up. So that like cricket or the price of crickets have went up by 2%. The price of beef has gone up 150%, but we're going to remove beef from the CPI basket and put in crickets and go, people should eat crickets. And that's why, the whole eat the bugs thing.
Oh yeah,
The
bug
bugs be
sandwich,
happy.
bug burger. Eat bugs, be happy.
Yeah, and that's why they're pushing it because it's a clever way of them pretending inflation isn't happening because they remove good items from the CPI shopping basket and replace it with junk and go and then just pretend that the inflation on the other items hasn't happened and go, oh, you don't want beef anyway. How far? It's bad for the environment. Eat crickets. Crickets don't fart.
Yeah, the other thing about the energy prices I find quite funny is they've again released it today for the next 3 months. The energy price cap is going to be £2,000. Like no shit, Sherlock. It's summer. Don't have me eating on, do I? So of course it's dropped. I've noticed a drop in my energy bill. It's nothing to do with the price. The price is the same. It's just I'm using less. Like so to give the cap at 2,000, it's like well obviously because no one's got their eating on, and that's the gas bill is the thing that went up the worst.
Yeah,
Bloody
well, they've
idiots.
promoted it that year on year it's down £400. So this time last summer it was £400 more. But then they forget the fact that if you go back one more summer, it was £1,000 less. So you go, well, hold on, yeah, you have knocked it down temporarily from £400 because you raised it 1,000, but the advertising it's a drop. It's a massive saving of £400 per household that they're getting from this summer to last summer, which is correct. That isn't a lie. It was £400 more expensive last summer, but then we got given the money last summer anyway. That's what all the payments and the discounts were put into our account. So no one really paid the extra 400. But now they've taken it off again without just giving us the money in discounts. But then next year, guess what happens? Those payments are gone. So it's back up to the £1,000 more. And so the price of energy is still doubled. Yet at the moment, today's story is every household is richer by £400. Like, no, they're still £600 down from 2 years ago.
It's like it's the whole break your leg and give you a crutch. Now you say thank you, you know.
Yeah.
And this is the way we go back to the corruptness. It's they shouldn't people should not be allowed to be in power and be on the either payroll or a shareholder of firms like that because the they're making so much cash from these and they're the decision makers. The rich just get richer by doing it. So yeah, it's the poor people that are getting burnt, aren't they? Basically, at least there's no grannies not being able to put they can choose now between eating and heating. Just open the window.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. And then yeah, the other one we had on here was interest rates. And so interest rates are a poison chalice, right? Or the
Yeah,
double sword because interest rates are flying up now, right? 7, 8%, which if you've got a stack ton of savings and you've got a load of nice property portfolio, with not any mortgages on it, by the way, but
yeah,
then it'll
exactly.
just push asset prices up, which is good for you, right? So
So
you
just
get
stop there a minute. So because the interest rates are up, why does it push your rate up? Just for supply and demand requirements? Because if you got a house that's worth, obviously that might have gone up 20k, whatever, 15%. That's not directly related to the bank, is it? But the bank interest rates, are they actually at 7% at the moment? Can you get 7% on your money return?
no, but that's what interest rates are at, and then the banks will always knock a couple of percent off that, so you can get
Oh,
four
okay.
5%
Okay.
interest rates from a bank. Normally, whatever you can have a look at a bank and go whatever the interest rate they'll give you on your savings, um, add a couple of percent on, and that's the interest rate. Other than when it was at zero, and then it was just we got zero, they got zero, and it was zero for about a
You know
decade.
what I would do? I would take that 0, 0. Thank you, sir. I'll move on. And then you give me 100 grand to buy my house. Thank you. I'll pay you back. 130 grand over 30 years. So you know you're going to make 30 grand. It's a fair trade, isn't it? Whereas when you've got interest rates that's so variable, it's not because we always say about all the way through schooling and stuff, you always get told to make educated risks and educated decisions and you forecast forward to make sure you can afford it and stuff like that. Well, how can you afford it when the variability of that, like you say, with 7% on your mortgage, Jesus, like if I had my mortgage now, I only renewed my mortgage just over a year ago, literally a year and a month, I think it was. I got 2.04%.
Mm.
And that was a bit annoying because it was 1.89 2 weeks earlier when I was going through the rigmarole, but there was a bloody hold on my house because of it being buy to let, not buy to let, help to buy with the government scheme, which again is a scamming little bastards they are. So just on the side note, in order to sell help to buy, I had to pay 200 quid for a chap to come around and value it. Fortunately, he was a Villa fan, and I asked him about how he prices it up, and he says there's a range, and he quoted me at the bottom range, so that was a big saving. So it was well worth being a Villa fan on that day. Very rarely is it worthwhile being a Villa fan, but on that one it worked. Then you have to pay 20% of your house back at the rate of how much it is. So if your house has gone down, you pay the money they give you. If your house gone up, you pay them 20% of that, which again, it's fine. If that's the agreement, that's obvious when you do it, which that was quite obvious. But the thing that isn't, you can't take any equity out of your house with the help to buy on the house.
Mm.
So even though you've got like 100 grand equity in there, you can't touch it until you pay back their help to buy. But that is not necessarily that obvious in the contract.
Yeah, I know, and it's meant to be, they're meant to be helping you, right?
Yeah,
Whereas
precisely. Yeah.
suddenly it looks like, no, this is an investor. They've come in with you 2080 and they want to any
Oh, you
game.
pay £1,000 admin fee, I think it was, to actually sell it back to buy
Yeah.
it. So straight away you're losing more money just doing that. It's just
Yeah. So, but the way it's marketed is, oh, you'd be stupid not to do help to buy. And you get a house
yes,
for 80% of the value, get the government get 20, but then you don't look down the future because it does help people get on the market. But then once you end up trying to get out of this deal, you realize,
yes,
holy shit, this isn't good. They're not helping me at all. They're charging me at every turn. They're trying to get fees out of every little thing they can possibly get. And then if the house has gone up in value, they want a piece of it. And you go, hold on, no, your 20% was worth X. I'll pay you your X back, maybe plus a little bit of interest or
yeah,
something, but
yeah,
then you fuck off. But instead, it's like, no, the house value went up by 30%. We want the extra 30 on top of the 20. So that's 26% basically of what we actually lent you. But and you go, well, hold on, are you investor in me now? Did we go into this
yeah,
joint venture together where suddenly now I didn't realize there was another owner of this house and they were you just gave me an amount of money. How about I just give you that amount of money plus a little bit more and then you fuck off? They're like, no,
yeah.
we want a bigger piece of the pie. If you've made money, we're making money too. And you go, well, this isn't really helping then, is it? And then they try and trap you in that game of
Yeah.
never being able to really, like most people would never be able to get away from the help to buy that
Well,
20% be
the
there.
worst thing is, from memory as well, I think you have to pay it all off or nothing.
Yeah.
And you pay nothing off. You pay, and it's actually a real amount of money. It's like, I think it was in the first year, it was like 50, 60 quid a month interest only, by the way. Then it was going up basically a tenner every year. So by the end of like after 5 years or something, you're paying like 200 odd quid a
Yeah. So
month.
eventually
Like,
it's just
so real money.
never buy them out in the end.
And obviously your house prices going up as they are, then it becomes even harder. It's, yeah. But anyway, on that note as well, you realise they're starting to do the 0% deposits again, aren't they?
Yeah.
Going back to 2008, aren't we?
Yeah. We're back to insanity land. Yeah. Because interest, that's the other side of the double-edged sword is when interest rates go up, it also then means mortgages are stupidly expensive. Obviously, yeah, you got one for 2% just over a year ago. Now that same mortgage would be 7 or 8% now. So the total repayable and the monthly payments are double probably what you agreed to. So
Imagine that. Jesus.
yeah, for the same thing,
Insane.
for exactly the same thing, you'd probably be paying about double, or at least 50% more, right? Depends on the term that you're paying back and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to be significantly more. Probably would have taken out your price range for the budgeting you'd have been looking at because it's just you'd have gone, what the hell is this? You'd have had to just think of something else. So people can't get on the housing market because straight away they can't afford the monthly payments plus the deposit. So they go, well, look, let's just take the deposit off the table,
Yeah.
and you
Use your
can blend,
deposit money to top up your mortgage payments for the
yeah,
first couple
blend
of years.
blend that in, and we'll give you 0% deposit. And now without the deposit, can you afford the monthly payments? And some people will go, well, yeah, for the probably first year, maybe two, if I merge the deposit over that, I can. And then they go, okay, great. And then a lot of people will go, okay, well, that's fine. I'm
Got a nice
sure in the
house.
next 2 years, I'll get a pay rise, something will happen, and I'll be able to keep up. And guess what? We know how this story ends. People can't keep up. And that deposit that was supposed to be a big chunk, and then your monthly payments were down, that didn't happen. There's no big chunk gone. You're chipping away. It's a tiny, tiny little chips. And the monthly payments are right on the edge of your limit. So it only takes one person in the household to lose a job or take a pay cut, and it's game over. They default. And eventually, what ends up happening when you play this out long enough is everyone, well, a huge percentage of people default, and the banks go and try and take the property back, and it ends up being worth less than what they loaned it out for. They're now short of money. We have a 2008 banking crisis all over again. But the people that are doing that right now and giving out zero deposit loans will be getting huge bonuses, nice big golden handshakes going into retirement.
Yeah.
They'll rake in the money because they'll all be smashing their numbers. All the mortgages, the number of mortgages being taken out at the moment is dropping from like 30-40%. Because like the stamp duty was removed during the pandemic. That's obviously back. Now you got double, triple interest rates, so your payments are hugely higher. So obviously people are going to be hesitant. We've got a cost of living crisis happening. So people's money's already short. And then you go, oh, by the way, you need an extra £400 a month for your mortgage. It's just stupid. It's just there's only so much money, right? The average salary does not pay now to live and pay a mortgage. It just doesn't. So
On the side of that, there's another thing that's happened recently. I heard on LBC, not like the last few weeks. They're doing something to landlords. They're making it difficult. I think they've passed a bill to make it more difficult. I think for landlords to kick out renters. So ultimately, what they're trying to do, I'm guessing, reading between lines, make it a little bit more less appealing for you to buy a house and rent it out, which means people are more likely to want to go and buy, which again gets you in the rat race of because when you say about the 7% mortgage, if people haven't got mortgages like that, if your mortgage is like 700 quid, probably 350 of it, maybe 300 is actual payments, and the rest is interest. So imagine if and that's like 2-3%. If you double that, you're paying 300 quid off, and you're paying £1,000. Like, wow, that's 700 quid of going into bait. Now that is bloody going into thin air, isn't it? Like
yeah,
people said about Bitcoin being backed on thin air. Like that is literally thin air payments, isn't it?
yeah. And if you really zoom out and look at the game theory of all this, when you tie it all together, where does all the property end up? Because they're putting pressure on landlords, making it easier for renters to default. The owners of properties are also going to default. So, and then there's a load of first time buyers that now can't get on the market and have to rent. Uh, so
Could
what
be
you end up
government
having,
housing,
you
council
have
estate.
exactly, you end up with one big council estate where all the property ends up in the hands of the banks or the government. Because everyone's defaulted, right? If you default on your help to buy at some point, the government will go, okay, so it's fine, we'll take the variety
Yeah.
in receivership. And then they'll rent it out or do whatever. And it all goes to these huge investment firms indirectly managed by the government. So, yeah, it looks like, and this is the move to socialism and communism, right? Where you don't own anything and you'll be happy. And that includes your home. And they're pricing you out of your own home right now. They just do it by, it's death by a thousand cuts. They don't just
Yeah.
throw up the price of something straight away because it's so very obvious. Like that's the thing that did it. If you just keep doing it by bit by bit by bit by bit, eventually you don't really notice that. Oh, Sander down the road got kicked out, and oh, Mike's gone now as well. Oh, he's a bit of a gambler though, a bit of a drinker. Probably
Mm.
that's probably what did it. And then eventually, but before you know it, it's like holy shit, the tide's risen, and I'm next. I can't afford my mortgage payment now, but hold on, I'm still doing the same job. We still live the same way. If anything, we've cut back. Why can't I afford to pay my mortgage now? And all that happened was that your 2% mortgage ran out. You had to flip to a 7 or 8% one, and you're underwater.
Well, your energy bills are slightly creeped up, which probably on the face of them, a monthly payment is not massive anymore, but it's a bit more of a charge. Your grocery shop's more expensive. So to be honest, you must have seen it as well. We've all noticed it. You go for your normal bank accounts and how much you used to be able to get away with spending and having left at the end of the month isn't the same anymore. So you're absolutely right. You do have to move on with life. And people that are in jobs that can't get that, they're the ones that are going to struggle. Like we can move jobs and get pay rises and promotions and stuff. Like you've got the opportunities, whereas a lot of people don't. They're going to be knackered, which then brings us on to something else that a lot of people, I know from personal experience, we all go to work in a government public sector jobs because you get these beautiful benefits. One being unlimited sick pay, it seems like anyway. Other ones are like job for life, and the one that was obviously great pre 1995 was the pensions. However, so just a little background on what I've witnessed with pensions. In the pre 1995 one, it was final salary payment, and I think you would get 2.5 times what you put in. They would put in, and you get a payout. I think it's like 3 years of your final salary as a lump sum. You skip forward to like I think 2008. They changed it, and they changed it to like less contributions than the 2012 part. It went down to like um, mean contributions or average salary over your last 10 years or something. And obviously that's so you're showing a decline there. But the other thing is, I think you could really in the old days get it at 60. Then the second one that I talked about was 65. Then it's 66. It's now 67. So my prediction, based on those years, when it comes to us in 30 years' time, it'll probably be 36 years' time for me, 72. And like, look around us. Look how many people get ill. How many people make it like healthily at 70? And like, there's too many people that I know that get ill or pass away in the late 50s, early 60s. So straight away, your longevity in it. But I think the thing we want to touch on mostly is the longevity of the money in the pot. Because on conversely to what I just said then about people dying early, there's also with medical invention and development, some people probably I'd love to know the split. Let's say 50-50 for argument's sake. 50% are living way longer as well. So we're drawing on this for longer. So a pension's designed for probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years, I'd imagine. So if you last for 30, then you're actually in profit, aren't you? Or if you live for 40 years, so you make 100 and you've got all your care fees and all that stuff. So will there be pension pots left? Will we have a state pension, I guess, is the question. And because that's the other thing. I opted out of the government funded one, but would you opt out of a private pension fund where you so obviously remove Bitcoin out of this now, so that's as a side asset for investment. But if you're in a private pension, is that more stable than being in the government one?
No, not really. So yeah, the state pension will almost definitely be gone there. Yeah, because that essentially is a benefit. So the government is going to get squeezed over the next 30 years, probably sooner. And one of the last things they do steal and remove is the state pension, but they will.
Has this ever happened before? Was there ever pensions in the past? Would
No,
this be the first time?
it's new. Like people, this is the ridiculous thing that people think like pensions were just invented with cavemen. Like, no, they weren't. Uh, like the young would look after the old. That would you look after your parents. Like when they're too old to hunt, you would go hunt and give them their food because it's like, well, yeah, you hunted
So the
for.
government wasn't there with food banks.
I know it's nuts and vouchers to get a moldy Jaffa cake from Canaldi, but and then yeah, and then after that, we would once we moved to money, people would work their whole life, and guess what? They weren't babies. They didn't give their savings to a central authority to go, when I'm old, can you give me a little bit of that savings back every month? Thank you. No, they didn't. They weren't babies. they would take their wealth, and this is where like hiding money under the mattress kind of comes from, where you would save up your wealth during your life to make sure that in your years where you no longer can work, you would have enough to live. Each person would be individually accountable, or as a family, you'd be accountable to, maybe you've got a member of the family that isn't very good at working, or maybe could be disabled, whatever.
Kick them
The other
out.
the other family members would
Get them
save up
adopted.
and look after that person. And it's just very normal. It was just, you look after your own, right? Charity starts at home, starts with yourself, then goes to your family, then goes to your extended family. And that's the way we would live. But we have moved to such a dangerous place now where the majority of people have put the majority of their savings, their big kind of last hurrah, and how they're going to live a good retirement. They have given that to a huge central authority who has, their entire track record of money is horrendously atrocious. So you're gambling that money manager that is atrocious is not going to at some point steal those funds. And there's multiple ways they can steal them, right? So if the state pension, super easy, they switch it off. The way they steal your private pension, they tax it. Super easy. Oh, you have more than 50K in a pension. Oh, that means you're part of the elite. Anything over 50,000 is charged at 99% tax. What do you mean that's not good? Do you not care about the kids in Ukraine? How dare you? So they steal it that way. They steal it through taxes. And that's assuming that fiat money hasn't collapsed completely. If fiat money collapses completely, then your pension's just worth zero, regardless of what. Because it's, oh, you have £1 million in your pension. Guess what? £1 million doesn't buy a loaf of bread. We're on a Bitcoin standard now. So that's one of the big dangers. But I would, and all a pension does, right? There's some tax benefits on the way in. So it's tax free, right? Oh, why wouldn't you pay into your pension? It's tax free, not tax free on the way out, though, is it, mate? It's taxed on the way out at income rate, at income tax level, which is the same as what it's taxed on, whereas you just take it today. So do you want to get taxed today on it or taxed on it later? It's just an either or.
That's awesome, that is, because you're absolutely right. Everyone says to me, "You're dumb." Taxable benefit that you could get underneath. You'd be paying less tax. But I would like, but my bottom line, my net income is considerably less also. Like, so I'm better off losing more to the tax man and having more in the bottom line than I
Yeah,
am losing
when do
it
you
and
want
not
your money?
seeing.
When do you want your money? Do you want it at 67 or do you want it at 37?
Yeah,
I know what,
exactly.
straight away, I'd have it at 37, right? And then what you can do is you can invest it in exactly the same things that a pension fund would. You could just Google what do pension funds invest in, right? And it tends to be a whole series of government bonds, which are supposed to be rock solid. They all went virtually to zero this year. So lols, that was the safest houses thing. But the majority of the money just tracks the market.
SP
So
500, mate.
yeah, FTSE 500, a random Vanguard, like 500 global company thing. Super. So you can buy that yourself. So if you want to pay in your 200, 300, £500 a month, whatever your massive freaking pension number is, you could pay into that yourself and you will get the same level of gains that your pension does yourself. But the big difference is if you do want to retire at 63 or 55, you can, and you can start taking from your pension because it's your pot. It's not some pot that is controlled by another
Yeah,
company that
I
tells you
think
when you're allowed to retire. You can do it yourself. And if you have a big like health crisis, you can take all of it. And guess what? There's no tax thing to worry about when you take it. You've already paid the tax. You paid it when you earned it. You just put it into a savings pot. And now it's your money, right? Sloshing around. When you take all your money in retirement, bang, they hit it with a 40% tax over certain levels. Class as income.
but I guess the whole point is it's contributions from the employer. So you might get taxed on it.
You still take them.
You see, you can't in the NHS. That's the crazy thing. So I looked into that. I was like, can I do 0%? You go, no, whatever your band is, you have to pay X or we don't pay nothing. That's quite strict. The other thing that you're right about is if you want to take it early, you get penalised like 5% a year or something daft, don't you? Of your final salary pot, the lump sum, which is
All pensions
insane.
are different, but some will just say no. You could have literally a health crisis at 47 and go, oh, I'm going to die within a year. Can I have my pension? They'll just go, no, lol, it's over. Sorry.
Yeah, because that's the thing I don't like about it. You should be able to take out whatever you put in, you should be able to take out whenever you want. It's wrong, isn't it? And the other thing is, whilst I said like they contribute the same, let's say it's 50-50 and you put 100, they put 100, that 200 quid that goes in today, we know fully well in 10 years' time, it's not going to be worth 200 quid of spending power today.
No.
Or no, that 200 quid won't be £100 spending power. So in reality, well, we just look at our mums and dads. They talk about being able to buy houses for 8, 9 grand. Now you're paying 300 grand, and their pensions that they're putting in then that 500 or 50 quid a month, £100 a month, whatever their wages were, is not worth anything near what it was worth in those days. When you think you could buy a house for 9 grand and you're putting 100 quid away, that's quite not that far off. Whereas if you're now putting 500 quid away and your house is worth 360 grand or something, that's just not even a drop in the ocean, is it?
Hmm.
So
And
that,
it's nuts. Like pensions are really predatory as well. I mean, people don't realize they are products, right? And they're products that these companies make profit on. So not only are they taking fees every single year, which really erodes your gains if you do it yourself. You think people go, oh, it's not taxable benefits. Factor in that the fact that your pension company will take 1% a year every year
remember you worked that out for our dad about if he had his X amount and if you just paid that 1%, I think it was for an accountant, it was horrendous. The numbers go forward 5 years, wasn't it? It was like it was real money, wasn't it? If you went with an
Exactly.
investor.
So he's obviously the exception pension wise because he was the benefit of an RAF
Oh
stupid
yeah.
good pension. So it absolutely was worth taking pensions when they're giving full salaries, big
At
lump sum.
40.
It's being paid out a pension since 40. Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. Literally, you could have retired at 40. Really, I don't know why he didn't. But then once you get the pension pot, go to a financial advisor. They take their 1%, and I just put that 1% out over the next 10, 20 years, and it just completely destroys the gains that you have. And that's what's happening to every single person's pension pot
It's
right
only
now.
a percent, it's not a lot, but then it is a lot, wasn't it? It was crazy money. I think it was like 30, 40 grand or something stupid, wasn't it? That
Yeah,
you lose.
for every 100, I think you lost 30, 40. Yeah.
And that just doesn't make sense because that doesn't add up, but it is when you extrapolate it. Oh, it's insane.
Yeah, because he's taking 1% of the whole pot. So
Yes, that
gains
was
that
it.
you get,
Oh, of course, it's only a percentage of that, isn't it?
it really hurts your gains because you don't want to be giving someone 1%.
No,
And
I do like the ideology that you put to it, like having pocket money when you're a fully grown adult, and it dictates your retirement, doesn't it? But all, and again, it goes back to the thing about going to school, getting a mortgage, getting kids, working until you get ill or can't, then you take early retirement, or you wait till you're old enough, then you take retirement, and then you just wait to go. You sit in God's waiting room, don't you, in the nursing home? Right? Whereas that I don't feel like that's the general public. Not everyone thinks like that now. I know there's a lot more people think I want to retire early. They try and find ways out, but still the masses in the I've got to pay into it because that's what you do, isn't it? How am I going to live if I haven't got a pension? But do you know what that is? You say pension's not for babies, but people are quite babies though. People have a number in their account. That means they can spend it and
yeah,
they can go to zero because they get paid again. So people aren't mature with money, are they?
see, it's why I entitled a whole podcast on the four Bs. Are you a baby? Because I genuinely think if you take a pension, you're a baby. When you really, really look at it, if you look at the long term profit and loss and the pros and cons, it's so clear. If you have any nous around finances and money, you should absolutely manage that yourself. If you're a baby and you can't be bothered learning how to look after your own finances, absolutely, probably the safest thing probably is to pay into a pension pot.
Yeah,
Who knows?
purely
Maybe at
safe.
some point in the future, you might get more money back and it will get you through retirement slightly okay. If you retire soon, then you're probably more likely to get your pension than not. But if you're retiring in 20, 30 years, it's really, really a really big gamble. And chances are you would have lost that money frittering it away on Starbucks coffees and gambling on the football at the weekends anyway. So,
That's literally my bank account.
so you might as well just put it into a pension. At least it's the intention was there to make that money work for you for your retirement. At least the intention was good. Whereas, and I think at least when you get to retirement age and potentially there's no pension there, maybe you won't beat yourself up as much because there wouldn't have been any pension there anyway if you hadn't paid into a pension because you just frittered it away. Then you would have had no one to blame other than yourself. So maybe offloading the blame to the government will be easier on your conscience. But if you actually want to be financially mature and not a baby, then just look after your own money. Don't fall into the trap of governments leading you down a certain path because they say it's tax free this way. That's like your help to buy scheme, right?
It is.
They led you down a path going, we're helping you
Well,
to buy a house. It literally says it in the title. You go, thank you, sir. I'll lead you down this path. And then before you know it, oh, by the way, you owe me this, you owe me that. Oh, and by the way, your house has gone up, you owe me more.
yes. Well,
Same with
let's
pension.
go back to that point you said about Help to Buy. I just thought about it. So obviously we know where they clearly made money, admin fees, etc. They also made the money on the house prices going up, which obviously when they brought the Help to Buy out, they knew that was going to happen because they decide that. The only reason that we took Help to Buy out was so we had more value to loan ratio, which allows you to drop into a cheaper interest mortgage. All right. And you're talking by 2.2, 0.4%. It's not a lot. It's like quite small. But in the monthly payment, it's probably 100 quid a month. But if you work out how much I end up paying as a result of that over those 5 years, I reckon I paid probably more than if I had not had it and had a smaller loan to value ratio.
Yeah,
And there we go. That's it. That's it. I finally worked it out in my mind. That's why it works because they make money on that 20%, which covers any little bit of saving you've made per month for the last 5 years.
of course,
It's all about loan to value, and that's what
well,
they bump
imagine
it
if you
on.
could like start a business that indirectly you ended up owning 20% of all first time buyers' homes. Of course, that's a freaking foolproof plan. And then guess
Yeah,
what? You're not even in charge of the overall loan. Someone else is, the bank's taking the risk on that.
yeah,
You just get the free 20%. It's nuts. It's,
yeah.
of course, it's absolutely risk free. They know full well that the house prices are going to continue to go up because they can see the rise in the population numbers. They're letting load of additional people into every country, and so there's limited more less and less homes. There's the scarcity is there, so that the price of homes goes up, and then they
Mm.
keep making the loans more accessible, trying to get more people in. Even if interest rates get out of control, they go, shit, what can we do? I know, no deposit, let them in that way. They just want house prices to keep pumping. Why? Because the people making the decisions have a fuck ton of property. That's
Yeah.
why. Which is why property is such a reliable investment. Because if property goes down, the big boys get hurt. So chances are it will recover quite quick. But eventually, the house of cards falls, and the big boys do lose a lot of money. The governments lose money, and house prices will
Well, they
they'll
get
fall
blasé,
by the
don't they? They
fancy.
over speculate, don't they? That's what happened. They get greedy, isn't it? And
Yeah,
I think there was I think it was you that said this years and years and years ago, and you had the penny drop on you, and you used to, and I always used to do it. I used to invest on the last day of the month before payday. I did, always did. Whatever was left in my bank account, I
mm,
would invest. Then I think a conversation with you, and I think it was after you did. So I think I learned this earlier in my life than you did, purely because you told me 4 years later. Um, you invest on day one, and then you live your life to those means. If you get to a point where you're really stuck and your car tires blow up, you pull some out your investment, you cover it. But the point is, it's psychologically you're budgeting yourself for the future. And you're not being tight, and that's the critical point here. You're still living your life because you've budgeted it correctly. So you know that you're not going to be having to take money out of your investments at the end of the month because ultimately you know. But what you do know is that when it comes to the last month, the week of the month, and you see your bank balance quite small, instead of tapping in to the investment, you go, I see, you might not go out all night on Saturday and Sunday. I might just go and watch the football at home. and you do those little sacrifices towards the end of the month, and then you get paid, you put invest, and you go and blow it on a good night out or something, and treat yourself. But it's the cycle way, isn't it? And it's the way of training yourself. So if anyone is thinking how the hell are you meant to invest when we got no money, we just invest 20 quid at the beginning of the month, 50 quid at the beginning of the month,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
priorities, right?
scale back.
Priorities. I remember, like, yeah, I was literally making myself skint straight away on payday, same day the payment to go out, and I'd instantly be skint because I go, holy shit, over the next 30 days I've only got this. I'd straight away have to budget from payday to the end
Yeah,
because I would take out such a huge chunk. I was taking about 70% of my wages when I was not wealthy at all and putting it into investments straight away. Because yeah, because I heard the quote, which was, poor people get paid, spend the money they need to live, and then invest what's left. Rich people get paid, invest what they need to invest, and then spend the rest on to live.
yeah, and I
Got
think
switched around.
the critical point as well is because a lot of people will be like, oh no, but life's for living, you know what's going to happen around the corner. You do have to plan for the future, and future, we always say future Tom, future Gad's going to be very happy with this decision you've made now, providing you don't miss out on too many memories. We always say memories are more important than a lot of investments at times, but you do need to think about getting out of the rat race, and obviously you've managed it.
The things I missed out on when I really look back on it and go from the age of 25 to 35, I missed
Car,
that on a
a
Porsche,
mortgage.
yeah, a mortgage, a pension, and a couple of Porsches.
Mm.
They're the things I could have paid into a pension, could have bought a house stupidly, and I could have got a couple of Porsches. Everyone used to ask me, as my wages went up and up and up, when you get in the Porsche, guys, you're still driving around your old Audi, or at the time, probably my Type R, so I hadn't got smashed into yet. I bought it when I was 23 or something, and I was
Yeah.
probably 30, 32, 33, something like that. Still driving around the good old Type R, little boy racer car. And at that time I was a director of the company. When you get in your Porsche, what are you doing? There's low level, entry level kind of people got better cars than you now. I'm like, I've got a plan. I'm not going to spend it on cars. So and then suddenly I, essentially become financially free at 35, and now everyone doesn't no one ask me where my Porsche is anymore. Everyone just goes, oh, he's not like that. That's not what he does. I earned money to buy myself retirement. I knew how much money you need for each year, and I was laser focused on getting to that number, and that was my priority. And I still lived my life. I still went out loads, went on nice holidays, wore nice clothes. I didn't compromise on everything. I was eating steak every night. I lived a good life. I got my standard of living up to a level that I was happy with at about 25, and I just left it there for 10 years. I went, I'm not going above this limit. I don't need holidays that are worth 10, 20 grand. I don't need a car that's worth 100 grand. I don't need a suit that's worth 5 grand. I'm happy buying off the high street, going on relatively normal holidays, driving an all right car. It's still a nice car. People still liked my car, but it wasn't a banger or anything like that. And then it all pays off. You go, oh, well, that money I was carving to one side, you invest it, make it work for you, and then you don't retire at 67, you retire at 35. And,
Yeah.
and you just do that by not being a baby.
And on that note, I think I need to go to Starbucks. It's closed.
Actually, no, the worst thing you can do is Uber Eats to Starbucks.
Oh, that's probably quite bad, isn't it?
Pay like
Hey,
pay £3.99 to get a £4 cup of tea sent to you.
which is cold. You have to use the microwave anyway.
Yeah, the tea bag won't even be even in it. It's be spilled. No, it'd be gross.
Right. It's been decent. You go and enjoy catching your wife to be in the chickens.
Yeah, see if she managed to get them in or she's running around on the fields trying to find a chicken.